Esper Dream is an early action RPG from Konami, appearing on the Famicom Disk System in 1987, just a year after the pioneering Dragon Quest. On the Konami timeline, Esper Dream comes after Castlevania and in the same year as the original Metal Gear. Back then, if a video game had a story, most told it in the instruction booklet, but Konami always included high-quality opening cutscenes to explain the story in-game. Here we have a fan translation from Mute. I have a lot of books, but this kind of thing's never happened to me. And into the storybook world he goes. Notice that he doesn't consent to come with her. Lottie just assumes he's okay with it. Loading times. And changing the side of the disc. FDS games always have this, and this game is packed with them. I'm glad those days are behind us. I see why this place is called Brick Village. See the mayor? Well, okay, Lottie. When we refuse to answer our kidnapper's questions, he kicks us back out onto the street. Despite his fatherly manner, the mayor knows that we have no choice in this situation. We're in his world now. According to the mayor, this world came into being after we opened the book. So what, it's at most a few hours old? Who's attacking the book? And, of course, since this is a Famicom game, they shoehorn in a damsel in distress, Alice. Couldn't we at least have seen Alice ahead of time? Gotten some characterization for her? To save the village and Alice, we apparently need 5 capsules and 2 treasures. Having beaten the game, I still have no clue what the capsules do, or why the village needs them. Is this the story we were reading when Lottie hopped out of the page? If so, as will soon become clear, it must be a pretty terrible book. Esper Dream has lush cotton candy color graphics. A lot of the cast, including us, have this cute color scheme. Even this burly weaponsmith chain-smoking cigars is periwinkle and magenta. Brick Village has 5 strange dark gray houses. These are actually portals to other worlds, and each one has its own dungeons, and then its own portals that link the worlds together. Brick Village will always be the main hub. The mayor who saves the game lives there. But as I discovered a few hours in, each of the other worlds contain their own village. The universe of Esper Dream expands into a set of whimsical interwoven lands layered on top of each other. For some reason, when outside of the villages, the boy wears this pink horned helmet. Maybe to channel our Esper powers? That's right, the title's no lie. We're an Esper, although we only unlock any ESP abilities after hours of grinding. These are powered by EP, Esper Dream's equivalent of mana. The whole world's open to explore. We could theoretically enter the different lands in any order, but given the enemy's immense strength elsewhere, the mayor's right to suggest we begin here, in what seems to be a giant house with no doors, bed, kitchen, or toilet. The enemies appear on the overworld as paw prints walking around. Touching them prompts a battle in a square room. To escape, we need to shoot a particular tile along the perimeter until it shatters, although it will require so much EXP we should probably try to run into as many enemies as possible. The enemies are all delightful. There are spring-propelled robots, giant pelicans that lay bombs instead of eggs, disembodied hands, evil tree people, and, because this is a Konami game, moai that shoot bullets. In addition to EXP, enemies also drop purses full of gold, and capsules that restore HP and EP. I like the idea that swarms of mosquitoes are carrying their gold in cute little purses. So initially, Esper Dream seems promising. cute detailed graphics, a wacky setting, and even on-screen action instead of normal JRPG menu navigation. The action elements and lack of random encounters were very forward-looking for 1987. But the game quickly became a tedious slog. You see, in one way, it is very much a 1987 RPG. Grinding. To stand a chance at surviving the hell in which the mayor has trapped us, we'll need higher levels, but also better equipment. The best weapon is the bazooka, and the best armor available for most of the game is the Devil, both sold in the Second World's village. But they cost 3,500 and 7,000 gold respectively. At this point, most enemies might drop 5 or 10 gold. You see the problem? We're saving the world! Monsters have completely conquered everything! And yet, not even the Brick Village merchant's willing to give us his best equipment at a reasonable price, and all that stingy mayor gave us is a water gun. He kidnaps us, enslaves us as his child soldier, and marches us off to die. Yeah, and the giant pelicans are the monsters here. Brick Village has a big stock of weapons. The locals should go drown the shopkeeper for being so greedy he's practically collaborating with the monsters, take his weapon stock, overthrow the mayor, and hunt down the capsules themselves. Why did the mayor drag us into this book anyway? Our Esper powers are unawakened. For all the villagers know, we're some random Earth kid. How many unsolved missing children cases are there in the world? If only the investigators could find this place, they'd find some kid's bones cemented beneath the bricks here. Esper Dream is so repetitive. There are a fairly small number of enemy types, maybe 4 or 5 in each world, and with how many we battle, the whimsy wears off real quick. The villages, despite their radically different locations, all have the same buildings, bricks, and even people, just scattered around in new arrangements. The only unique faces in the world are us and the mayor. Most of the dialogue is so banal it seems like parody. The few exceptions to this boredom are actually parody, though, like this person who's irritated that we randomly burst into their house and tells us to leave. Why do RPG heroes just run into random people's houses thinking they'll get some hot info? Half the time the NPCs seem as confused as we are. I don't think a single enemy would leave paw prints like this. The first world's theme is giant house, and the dungeons are computers, and the boss is a giant flower, named Flower, if Strategy Wiki is to be believed. A flower would only be giant if you were tiny, so I'll accept this. But afterwards, the enemies and bosses are random. Initially, I thought there was some connection between the different lands and the monsters. We're tiny in a giant house, so we fight ladybugs, caterpillars, and mosquitoes. Reasonable. But then we're inside a computer fighting levitating anglerfish. The second world's the most typical, a grassy overworld with skull-topped brick dungeons. The boss is a flying monkey monster, a pergola, and quite irritating. The third world is a crystal palace in space. Initially, I thought someone was growing humans in a lab here, but I realized these are actually intended to be sculptures. The boss is Geruzonia, a robed demonic creature orbited by 2 heads. The entire fight takes place on a floor of spikes. In Esper Dream, spikes are the worst environmental hazard, draining HP with every foot-pricking step, and so this battle ends up being quite tough. I didn't bother with the mid-tier weapons and armor, just saving for the best. Instead of leveling up, we could have bought the ESP spells from shops, but that would have been a waste of money. By the Swamp Ruins world, our bazookas become almost pitifully weak, especially against these tree monsters. Fortunately, Defense ESP makes me temporarily almost invulnerable, and in the ruins I find the Esper book that makes the ESP beam much stronger. The boss here, Tutamen, is quite interesting. When we enter the chamber, there are 2 pharaoh sarcophagus heads outlined on the floor. But we shoot one, and then the Tutamen spring to animation. One of them hops around trying to smash us for a huge amount of damage, and the other one fires super balls continuously, also for a huge amount of damage. This took a lot of tries. I admit that when it isn't tedious, Esper Dream can be surprisingly intense. We pick up the capsule, and then... Who is this girl? It's Alice! In a twist, rescuing Alice doesn't end the game. The mayor rejoices, but seems sad that we'll be leaving soon. He's so earnest and happy that I almost forget he kidnapped us to turn us into a child soldier. Almost. But we've got to get the last capsule from the chessboard castles in the sky. Let's go. At this point, we almost completely give up on conventional weaponry and instead use our ESP beam. There's also an Esper ability called Time Stop that will freeze enemies, and Flash that lets us attack them all simultaneously, but these take up enough EP that they're only really useful for the monsters wielding them against us. Here I find the second Esper book, which makes the ESP beam one-shot almost any monster. Also turns it an attractive pink color. I remembered that the second village pharmacy sells items called life bulbs and angel arms. At the time, they seemed prohibitively expensive, but by now, with torrents of gold pouring into our wallet, I went to buy a bunch for the final boss. Might as well. I'm still not sure what life bulbs do, but angel arms revive you with full HP if you die. Look! Konami Man! Early on, Konami inserted Konami Man there into many of their games as a kind of mascot. Similarly, Capcom meanwhile had Captain Commando. I suppose only Nintendo's Mario caught on. The final boss lurks in the heart of a chess palace labyrinth. In a mean-spirited trick, one of the 3 dungeons in the chessboard world is a red herring not worth bothering with. What is the final boss? Some kind of demonic giant chess piece apparently called Girasausen. This demon thing kills us several times, but the angel arms bring us back to life. The strategy is rapid firing beams until it dies. Good riddance. After Girasausen is gone, enemies no longer appear. Wonder whether this means Girasausen in particular was responsible for the monsters, or if I'd defeated Girasausen before the Tutamen, the monsters would remain. In any case, we've saved the world! But of course, these cruel villagers aren't going to tell us how to get home. We'll have to figure out the riddle ourselves. Throughout the game, we've met people who recite seemingly random nonsense that was actually portions of this riddle. In Brick Village, the Elder normally tells us we're too weak and then says how many EXP we need to reach the next level. But Alice kindly gave us her necklace. If we have this, the Elder recites the whole riddle instead, sparing us the trouble of inquiring in every village and taking notes. The 2 treasures the mayor mentioned at the beginning are the wand and the garnet, which we receive after completing trading quests. The 2 treasures are actually the price of escaping this monster-infested nightmare hell world. Who knows why we need to bring these to the clock stand, but I appreciate the fairy tale logic. As the boy leaves Brick Village, the player loses control over him. He just wants to escape, no questions asked. Couldn't there have been an animation? Say the boy waves the wand over the garnet or something. We spent hours finding these two objects. Can't we at least see what they do? Also, who's the evil queen on the front cover? Hello? Oh, the boy awakens back in his room. It was all a dream about our book, huh? An Esper dream. Which he has written on his wall for some reason. But wait! Look, there's the mayor and his daughters at the window! It wasn't a dream at all! They've escaped into the real world to kidnap and enslave children in numbers larger than ever! It couldn't even have been Lottie saying goodbye to us? Well, maybe those are Alice and Lottie, rather than Alice and the mayor's other daughter. Why did the game introduce us to Lottie when she ends up being as minor as all the nameless NPCs? After editing the video, it has come to my attention that Lottie is the mayor's other daughter, and that the girl outside, whom I thought was Lottie, is actually just some kid. You can tell she is not Lottie by comparing their hairstyles. You're welcome. In the credits, the designers have strange aliases, a common practice with Japanese video game developers in the 80s. I particularly like Mongol Tomoko and Ultra Nakaoka. Esper Dream falls into a genre of top-down action games Konami was beginning to make at this time, the most famous of which is, of course, Metal Gear. In particular, Esper Dream resembles Konami's later Ai Senshi Nicole, which also features a periwinkle and magenta hero in a weirdo fantasy setting. The player character in Goonies 2 shares that color scheme too. Maybe Konami was developing an in-house style. There are many interesting ahead-of-their-time ideas here. I appreciate that none of the worlds have generic themes. Instead of fire, lava, ice, etc., it's house, field, space crystal castle, swamp ruins, chessboard sky. But whatever joy there is in Esper Dream, it wears out its welcome. The cute graphics and weird setting might warrant a look, but not a complete playthrough. Don't repeat my mistake. If, for some reason, you want to play Esper Dream, Wikipedia says Konami's released it on the Wii U Virtual Console. Addendum. Halfway through Esper Dream, I learned there was an Esper Dream 2 released in 1992, an epoch later in video game terms. All I can say is, I've had enough Esper Dream for a lifetime. The only way I'd ever give this thing a look is if it was a massive improvement upon the original in every way. Oh, it is. It's one of the best RPGs on the Famicom? Well, maybe someday. Woo, yeah, like, comment, subscribe, that's what this part of the video's for. The next Famicom adventures will be about, Moon Crystal. And even have one of those book collection videos coming up soon, yeah.